How overpowered can you make sorcery in Dark Souls? This is part 2 of the series on how overpowered you can make magic in Dark Souls. You don't need to watch part 1, but I've figured out how to put it into a card in the top right corner. The rules are simple: sorcery only, no glitches or exploits such as soul duping, no summoning, and that's it for the rules. Now let me explain how this challenge works. The run will begin after the Asylum Demon, only because the little brother of magic, miracles, don't start with an attacking spell. There will be 4 phases in the run. The setup phase is when no bosses barring Asylum Demon have been killed. The early game, which will encompass everything up to Sen's Fortress. The mid game is everything before Manus and Calamite and 2 of the Lord's Souls, it doesn't matter which Lord Souls they are, and the late game, which is Manus, Calamite, and the rest of the Lord Souls, and any bosses I've missed. In each phase, I must acquire upgrades to my build that increase my power as early as possible. That doesn't mean I'm cut off from boss fights if they increase my power, just that I must get the closest power available. With the rules and explanations out of the way, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you enjoyed the video. Let's get going. Character creation begins, and I name myself Hecate to show these pathetic gods and demons what a true goddess of magic is. With the extent of my role-playing skills exhausted, I choose the Sorcerer class and the Master Key as the gift. The Sorcerer starts with a decent 15 intelligence and the spell Soul Arrow, which will become almost immediately redundant after we escape the Undead Asylum. Even though the run begins after the Undead Asylum, I can still talk about how sorcery works in Dark Souls. Much like pyromancy, the main way to learn spells is from teachers found around Lordran, such as Griggs and Big Hat Logan. These spells can only be cast if you have a staff as a catalyst and the required intelligence. Subsequently, all spells scale with intelligence. The main drawback of using sorcery is casting time. Unlike most pyromancy, which is relatively quick, these spells are slow, but you get a metric ton of them to cast when compared to pyromancy or miracles. With the Undead Asylum now cleared, we can get into the run proper. Phase 1, Setup. Now, unlike in the pyromancy run, we can get stronger almost immediately, but as usual, it requires some farming. So, through Anor Londo, the Valley of Drakes, and up Darkroot Basin to the Undead Parish. And into the church to get the Firelink shortcut, and back into the parish to get the basement key, and make my way to the Undead Bonfire from the parish, which is easier said than done, but I make sure to take out my staff, and then I just start blasting all the rats. And I unlock the Dragon Bridge farm, and head into the burg to purchase the residence key from the undead merchant. I then activate the dragon, and I head into Lower Undead Burg, and free the first teacher of sorcery, Griggs of Vinheim. Now comes the farming. First, I farm 20,000 souls on the bridge to unlock the actual farming spot in the early game, which takes about 20 minutes as usual. Now, I know what you're about to comment, and I'll let you finish the comment because I'm pretty sure comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Okay, why didn't I just kill Andre and get the Crest of Artorias? That way, after all, it would be much quicker, and I wouldn't have to spend an extra 20 minutes farming. And the answer is, I didn't feel like it. Moving on. After another 20 minutes of farming, this time for 50,000 souls, I can get all the needed gear and spells to finish the setup phase. Those being the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring to boost my sorcery damage by 20%, all the arrow spells from Griggs, and the spells from Rickard the Blacksmith. And with 7,000 souls left over, I can put them all into intelligence. The last piece of setup, as you might have guessed, is the Crown of Dusk, which boosts all magic by another 20% on top of the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring. And thankfully, I have more than enough spells to kill the Hydra and the Crystal Golem to spawn Dusk of Ulasil and obtain the Crown of Dusk. Phase 2 can now begin, the early game, and this section is by far the shortest, only encompassing 40 minutes and 3 bosses. Why? Because there's no farming at all in this section, and the bosses are easy. First up, I head to the Catacombs to deal with Pinwheel, and to be fair, he probably could have killed me in 2 shots if he didn't die in 3 hits. And, it's so weird to me that Pinwheel can be done this early and as like one of the last bosses in the game, but is so ridiculously weak. And entering the Tomb of the Giants, we find another reason why Sorcery is so OP. Its versatility. I have the light spell, so I don't have to memorize where I'm going, and I can actually see the way forward. And I pick up the covetous silver serpent ring, and put it in my pocket and then warp back to the Catacombs. Back at the Undead Church, I free Lautrec from his cell for literally no reason, and then head to the Gargoyles. The first Gargoyle goes down in 2 attacks, and the second goes down in 1. Another reason why Pinwheel is so stupid. I ring the first Bell of Awakening, and get that much closer to true overpowered status. And I kill Lautrec and take the Ring of Favor and Protection, aka the FAP ring. But I don't equip it yet because I would need to remove it when I tackled the Abyss, so it can wait. Then I head into the depths of Blighttown, and while I would love to pick up Power Within to skyrocket my damage, that's not allowed. But if you truly want to make the most OP magic build, it is an option. Quelaag is technically a bit tougher than the Gargoyles or Pinwheel, in that it takes the same amount of attacks to kill this one boss as it did, the other 2. So it takes 6 attacks rather than 3. But yeah, there's no challenge here. And with that, the second Bell of Awakening is rung, Sen's Fortress is now open, and Phase 2, the early game, is now complete. On to the mid-game, and Sen's Fortress is, as usual, the first place we're going. For now though, I only need to get halfway up the tower. Why? Because Big Hat Logan is hiding in a cage, waiting to be taken to the Duke's archives. So, with the snake's stab attack breaking the wall, I can finally free my final teacher of sorcery, and head back to Firelink Shrine to grind some more. It should only be 60,000 souls, which takes about 10 minutes of grinding, and I have the 3rd most powerful spell in the game, Soul Spear. It's time to make my way through Sen's Funhouse fully and reach the Iron Golem. And there's really nothing that can stop me here. Once I make it to the Iron Golem, each Soul Spear is over 600 damage, and when you combine that with a homing Soul Mass, and the fight, if you can even call it that, is over in less than 30 seconds. And he only took a single swing at me. Now that we're in the City of the Gods, the real game begins by running past... Wait, I fought my way through the city? Huh, you don't see that every day in a Challenge 1. Unfortunately, there isn't really anything to grab, so I head straight to the next boss fight. Ornstein and Smo absolutely smoke me on the first attempt. The second attempt starts out kind of rocky, but after 1,000 damage from a homing Soul Mass onto Smo, I comfortably get to Phase 2, Super Ornstein. And with a homing Soul Mass and a Soul Spear, and his enormous thigh gaps allowing my attacks to miss, impeccable hitboxes from Soft, I defeat him. A quick level update. I'm currently at level 47 with 50 intelligence and 23 attunement. And you probably don't need more attunement or intelligence. By this point, I can level, in my opinion, one of two options. Vitality for more health, or Dexterity for faster attack speed. This, though, is where the run gets really good. After placing the Lord Vessel, the Duke's Archives are unlocked, or, in the lore, the birthplace of sorcery as we know it today. So, after getting thoroughly trounced by the boars several times, make sure to level Vigor, kids, I finally make it into the archives, where I pick up the broken pendant from the Crystal Doll and die to Seath as is standard. And my spells can't reach through the bars of the jail. Oh, I can't believe I forgot about that. So I cast Bonk, and that causes the Osakas to be released from their prison. That's fine, because I die to the Snake Men, and for reference, this will be my farming spot. We can just skip through this area because it's not really necessary, so I go through a quick jaunt through the archives, and I get Logan's cell key. Then comes the farm. After freeing Logan, I homeward bone back to the cell bonfire, and I run down and farm the Osakas. This is probably the safest farming method in the game, because they literally don't fight back, and it's about 10,000 souls per run. Plus, they have a chance to drop humanity, which is nice. After a cool 30 minutes of farming, I have about 300,000 souls. It would have been about 50% faster if I had gotten the Mimic Head, but I didn't. So, whatever. Also, this was way more souls than I needed, because I don't know how to read. So, I get Logan's Crystal Magic, and the extra Soul Spears from Griggs. I only needed about 150,000 souls. And the wiki hasn't been updated yet, but if you kill Logan after buying all his spells here at the archives, then he'll drop the Tin Crystallization Catalyst, which has a massive 293 magic adjust stat. And with the remaining souls after buying Soul Spear from Griggs, I leveled Dexterity, although I probably should have leveled Vigor. It's time for the boss rush section of this phase, and considering that we have obtained all the most powerful sorceries from this section, it should and is an easy cleanup. Seath, despite being resistant to magic, goes down in 5 casts. He never even got out of his stunned phase from destroying the crystal. Next up is Sif, and thankfully I don't need to watch her limp around, as 3 casts of Soul Spear is all that is required. The 4 kings are up next, and while they take a few tries, my DPS is so high that it's not really a hard fight by any stretch of the imagination. Just use Crystal Homing Soul Mass between kings, and you should have the DPS to burst them down. And now it's DLC time, and the first up, as usual, is the Sanctuary Guardian, which unfortunately kinda sucks, with defenses, health. It's more on par of a base game boss than it is a DLC boss. So it only takes a few casts of Soul Spear and Crystal Soul Spear until he dies. Next up is Artorias, and to be honest, I wish there was more to say in this fight. So long as you can make distance with rolls, his triple slam and jump attacks are the perfect window to get damage in. Or you can just wait till his buffing phase, and that is literally free damage that he can't Sekiro hitbox his way out of. But with Artorias of the Abyss down, we move on to the final powering up section of the game, and on to Phase 4, the late game. With only a few bosses left on the list, it's time to grab the final and most powerful spell in the game. You know it, you love it, the ultimate shotgun, Darkbead. First, however, I have to make my way through the town, which I have to say is considerably easier with the utility of sorcery once again. Hidden Body is just that good. So, 7 minutes after defeating Artorias, I get the most powerful spell in the game, Darkbead. Let's talk about this spell. It fires 6 beads of dark magic out from the staff, and each one does the same damage as a Dark Orb spell. And while it has a poor first showing against Calamite because of his ridiculously high defenses, it still does the same damage as a Soul Spear. Now, the spell itself is rumoured to scale with intelligence and your physical strength stat, and that's not quite the case. It only scales with 2 sorcery catalysts. Manus' catalyst, which has a high strength scaling, and the other catalyst that you can find in Blighttown. I can't remember what it's called though. Perhaps leave it down in the comments section. Oh, and Calamite was literally no issue whatsoever. Obviously. To finish up the DLC is Manus, Father of the Abyss. And to be honest, Darkbead kinda sucks here as well. I mean, obviously, because, you know, it's his spell. But dealing about the same damage as a Crystal Soul Spear, while it's not the greatest showing for what I called the quote strongest spell in the game, it will get much stronger when we head back to clean up the early and late game bosses of the base game. To begin the cleanup, we head to the Moonlight Butterfly, and I suppose wearing Beatrice's armor is appropriate here since you can summon her for this fight. But calling it a fight is kinda generous because it's a one and done kinda deal. 1700 damage in an instant. On my way to the Taurus Demon, I would like to point out that I hit barrel skip, and that's the only interesting thing because Taurus Demon is dead. 2700 damage in one cast. Capra Demon, 1 cast. Gaping Dragon, 2 casts. Nito, 3 casts. 1 Darkbead, 2 Crystal Soul Spear. Gwendolyn, 2 casts. Stray Demon, 3 casts. Priscilla, 2 casts. Okay, so perhaps instead of listing how many casts of Darkbead it took to kill these bosses, I think I'll introduce a new section of the run called the Izalith Rant. So for the first ever Izalith Rant, I'd like to talk about Dark Souls 1. Why does Dark Souls 1 not have a remake? And I'm not talking about the remaster, they're 2 different things. A remake would make the game from the ground up and change parts of the game, mostly the late game. And a remaster, which is what we have, is just making the game look prettier. And that brings me to the next point. The late game, as many Dark Souls essays point out, is a mess. None of the fights are balanced or fun. New Londo is a nightmare, a cool design, stifled by the lack of shortcuts and bonfires, with enemies that require specific weapons, being cursed or using consumable items to defeat, and a boss that at the end is just an RNG nightmare. The Tomb of the Giants is just a shit show, but that mostly extends from the dark. But the boss fight Nito has like 4 attacks. He's the Lord of Death, and it's turned into a gank fight, which is a terrible idea because it's so poorly done. Like I said, we're fighting the Lord of Death, the being who could destroy eternal dragons without lightning. Why does this fight suck so bad? The Grand Archives, which is ironically my least favourite area, is the most finished out of all the late game areas. if a bit spammy of enemies and enemy buffs, but the boss still has like 4 attacks. Seath was a powerful duke, the grandfather of sorcery, so why doesn't he have any boss enemies guarding him? Where are his monstrous creations, beings that would shock and awe the gods themselves? It all just seems like a missed opportunity to me. And then the area this rant is named after, Lost Izalith, the coolest area with the coolest lore, pun intended by the way. Where are the demons? Like, where in the birthplace of demons, the most dangerous beings besides the eternal dragons, a society so deadly that Gwyn himself had to intervene and take down their powerful armies before brokering a truce? Where are all the demons? Where are the unique enemies? All we see are lesser demons, like the Capra demon and the Taurus demon, and one unique demon in the Centipede demon. Like, I want this area to be like 5 times bigger, with unique enemies, NPCs, quest lines, a city to explore, boss fights. Like, I want it all, instead of 10,000 undead dragon asses and statues that literally don't do anything. And then there's the boss fights. What is this bullshit? Like, literally, one's just a reskin, which in itself is a reskin of the reskin, and the other one sucks because the arena, like, half the arena can't be used because it's literally just lava. Like, what's the point? And then there's the final fight. We're fighting the mother of demons herself, the Witch of Izalith. So where are the demons protecting her? Where's the cool fight, pun intended, against a being that not even the great Lord Gwyn could defeat mano a mano? A remake would solve all these problems, and with the success of Elden Ring, it would be a viable path for Miyazaki. The full dream of Lordran could be realized in a remake. With the rant over, it's time for Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder, and Gwyn only takes 2 casts to finish off. 1 Pursuers, which you get for trading Manus' soul at Snuggly the Crow, and 1 Parry Darkbead follow-up. And with the final boss defeated, that concludes the challenge and the video of how OP can you make sorcery in Dark Souls Remastered. If you ended up making it this far in the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more challenge run content, and I'll see you gamers in the next video. Peace out.